In 2022, the Buffalo Bills were desperate for some cornerback help, so they looked to the draft, which happened to be one of the deepest classes in years at the position. The Bills did in fact come out of that draft with their franchise corner, but at least as of now, that elite corner has not been Kaiir Elam, the man Buffalo selected with the 23rd overall pick out of Florida. Instead, it has been the 185th pick of that class who has performed like a star thus far, that being Christian Benford out of Villanova. Benford flashed immediately upon entering the NFL, being named a Week 1 starter as a 6th-round rookie, though multiple injuries limited him to just 9 games that season. Benford became a full-time starter in his sophomore season, starting 15 games and improving immensely, grading out as a top 10 cornerback on the season by Pro Football Focus. But good was not good enough for Benford. 2024 has seen the 24-year-old take that next leap into stardom, as 3/4 of the way into the season, Christian Benford has been one of the league's best shut-down cornerbacks. Now, you may be shocked to hear that if you're a non-ball knower like my friend Joe of Fanatic Sports, but it's true. Many predicted the Bills to fall off this season since their defense went through a major overhaul. Last year's starting safeties Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde are gone, along with longtime corner Tre'Davious White. All-pro linebacker Matt Milano has been injured since August, and nickelback Teron Johnson missed all but 7 snaps in the first 5 weeks of the season. And yet, even after that Rams game, the Bills' defense has still allowed just 6.4 adjusted yards per pass this season, which is 9th best in the NFL. And that's due in large part to Benford playing like an all-pro, locking down his side of the field. Through 13 games, Benford has a PFF coverage grade of 81.9, which is 3rd best among all cornerbacks. He has allowed just 223 yards in his coverage through 13 games this season, a number that is the 2nd lowest among 67 corners who have logged at least 300 coverage snaps. And truthfully, the majority of that yardage came in one rare off game. 81 of those 223 yards came in a matchup versus Garrett Wilson and the Jets. Meaning, Benford has allowed just 142 yards in his other 12 games this season, an average of 11.8. He has allowed fewer than 10 yards in his coverage in 7 of his 12 games this year. Benford has dropped back into coverage 424 times this season, and only 11 times has he allowed a reception for a first down. Compare that to his 8 combined interceptions and forced incompletions this season, and Benford has one of the best such ratios in football. Just 26.2 of Benford's targets have moved the chains, which is 6th best in the league. Quarterbacks starting Benford this season have a passer rating of 71.8, which is 20 points lower than the league average passer rating. His staggering 0.53 yards per coverage snap allowed is also behind just Patrick Surtain II this season. And he's not just a help merchant either. Benford can hold his own on an island. He's been targeted 19 times in single coverage this season. 6 first downs allowed, 5 forced incompletions. And in terms of PFF's wins above replacement metric, Benford has been the 3rd most valuable corner in football this season. So how has Benford been able to lock down opposing receivers at such an extraordinary rate? Well, it starts with simply sticking to the hip of the wideouts and not allowing any separation whatsoever. PFF has a new metric this season called lockdown percentage, which tracks how well a defender prevents a receiver from getting open. It excludes plays where the defender intentionally gives up space to protect the first down marker or limit yards after the catch. Through 14 weeks, Benford is 5th in the league among all defenders in the statistic this season with a mark of 60.19%. In fact, to exemplify Benford's extremely hot start to the season, all the way through Week 7, he was the only defender in the league with a mark above 70%, a good 5 percentage points above anyone else. Now, that's not to say he's been bad since then, just that regression to the mean is something that exists, especially when dealing with starts as historic as Benford's was. He has still been among the league leaders in the stats since that point. That's how next level of a lockdown corner Christian Benford has been. Just ask arguably the fastest man in the NFL, Tyreek Hill. In the Bills' Week 2 matchup with the Dolphins this year, last year's 1,700-yard receiver was held to just 3 receptions for 24 yards, and none of them came while Benford was in primary coverage. And yes, this was also a game which Tua Tagovailoa played the majority of. Check this play on a deep ball to Tyreek. Benford begins up close in press, but bails right before the snap. Benford eyes Tua and keeps Hill in his hip pocket, staying over the top of him and forcing him to remain inside, squeezing him with the safety. The ball goes outside, and Benford still almost comes down with it. This was similar to a play in the previous matchup between these teams in Week 18 last season. On this play, Hill went in a burst motion into the slot, and Benford, lined up on the outside corner position, immediately recognized this and matched him vertically down the field. Benford was already in a perfect position to prevent a big play, but with a little help from an underthrow from Tua, he was also able to make a play on the ball and come away with an interception. Tyreek Hill isn't the only speedy wideout Benford has shut down either. The Jaguars' Brian Thomas Jr. has been one of the most productive rookie receivers in years so far this season. He's an alien of a prospect running a blazing 4.33 40-yard dash while standing at 6'3". However, he had his least productive game of the season versus Buffalo. Watch this play in which Benford was matched up with the rookie. Thomas Jr. throws a variety of shakes and bakes at Benford at the top of the route to try to lose him, but Benford remains calm the entire way. His smooth as butter hips help him remain even with BTJ at every turn, and he's in perfect position to break up the pass on the out route. That kind of poise in the face of a 4-3 receiver is crazy. All around, quintessential teaching tape stuff right there. One of the defining moments of this NFL season thus far was when the Bills knocked off the then 9-0 defending champion Chiefs in Week 11. One of the biggest plays of that game, courtesy of Benford, occurred on a 2nd and 14 late in the third quarter. The Chiefs were down by 2 and desperate for a big play, so Patrick Mahomes sought out the newly acquired DeAndre Hopkins down the field. The only problem was, Christian Benford was on top of Hopkins like a blanket the entire way. Hopkins initially attempted to run a slant, but Benford was in press and disrupted the route at the break, sticking with him and maintaining a good angle. So, as Mahomes scrambled, Hopkins instead turned his route upfield and out towards the sideline on a corner. Benford swiftly flipped his hips and matched Hopkins stride for stride, keeping him within arm's reach all the way down the field before successfully knocking the ball away at the last second from the hands of one of the best contested catch receivers in league history. Benford will battle to the very end no matter who he is lined up against. The Bills forced a punt following a Chiefs' failed third down conversion, leading to an immediate touchdown on their next possession, and they never looked back from there. Another thing to take note of with Benford is his physicality and effort. He always plays at full tilt through the whistle, never giving up any easy ground. Even in the harsh Buffalo conditions, Benford has excellent closing speed here on this play versus San Francisco. Backed up at their own 6-yard line, the 49ers were just trying to get an easy completion to give themselves some breathing room, but Benford recognized it immediately and attacked Jawan Jennings at the catch point with both arms, knocking the ball loose for an incomplete pass. 2nd and 10, ball up top. Once again, teaching tape stuff from Benford. Play through the play. He simply does all the little things well. Being one of the most fundamentally sound cornerbacks also shows up in the tackling department for Benford. On 49 tackle attempts this season, Benford has only missed one single tackle. The only cornerback in the NFL who has made at least 15 tackles with a lower missed tackle rate this year is Pat Surtain II. He always stays grounded, never losing his edge, either literally or metaphorically. Tank Dell is one of the shiftiest players in football, but he simply had nowhere to go on this end around because Benford was there setting the edge and never losing contain. Never getting greedy and overplaying your hand in run defense and playing team ball goes a long way at the cornerback position. Don't believe me yet? Well, just look at what this man did versus the Titans as a rookie. First, he sheds the 245-pound fullback lead blocker with ease. Then, in a one-on-one situation with the monster of a man that is King Derrick Henry, the beast who has made much bigger and stronger players look like children, Benford goes for his legs and takes him down with no outside help required. Last year, Benford was one of just 6 corners that had a PFF grade of 75+ in both coverage and run defense. With plays like this, it definitely shows. What also contributes to Benford's excellent all-around game, specifically in areas like run defense and tackling, is his excellent football IQ. He's a highly instinctual player who can diagnose plays as soon as they happen. Take this one versus the Dolphins, for example. Benford is in zone with his back foot on the 29-yard line, but as soon as the QB slightly turns his head to the right with his eyes on the running back in the flat, Benford already has his foot in the dirt in a sprint towards where the ball is headed. Once again, he takes on the lead blocker head on and sheds him as easily as he would shed you watching this video. Yes, you. By the time Devon Achane has his eyes downfield, Benford is already in his grill, taking him down at the 21-yard line. This instinctiveness is also on display with how often he always attacks the ball. How often does it frustrate you when a ball carrier is held up and nobody goes after the ball? Well, no need to worry about that with Benford. Okay, so with all of this said, why then do most people not even know who Christian Benford is, let alone acknowledge him as one of the best corners in the game? Well, that's quite obvious, honestly. He has just 1 interception this season and only 4 over his 37-game career. Football fans are simple creatures. Most fans are not breaking down tape at all, let alone coverage snaps of a 6th-round corner who never gets targeted. To most people, the best corners are either the ones with the most picks or the ones with highest pedigree, of which Benford is neither. Why do you think it took so long for Nnamdi Asomugha to be acknowledged as the best cornerback in the NFL back in the day? And he actually had the pedigree to bolster his case too. As showcased with PFF's lockdown metric, Benford simply does not give up space in his coverage, which makes QBs resistant to throwing in his direction. The leader in that stat, Trent McDuffie, suffers from that a bit as well, as he has 0 career interceptions in 40 games despite still being one of the best corners in football. people will recognize in due time. Better late than never. In the meantime, all Benford has to do is continue balling out, as he did in LA. Matthew Stafford had one of the greatest passing games you'll see all season against the Bills. And one thing to know about Stafford is that he's a gunslinger. He's going to test you no matter how locked down your coverage is. Demarcus Robinson got half a step on Benford on this deep route, and Stafford fired right away, but the Bills' cornerback recovered quickly to make up that ground. Benford knew the ball was in the air and, without ever looking back, waited until the opportune moment to swipe down with both hands and forced another incompletion without committing interference. This was one of 2 PBUs for Benford in LA. The second came while covering Cooper Kupp, who is one of the best out-route runners in the league. And man, just look at how swiftly Benford flips his hips as soon as he sees Stafford winding up to throw. Another one coaches across the country will save to teach to their players. It is genuinely baffling how a player this good this early at a premium position like corner fell to the 6th round of the draft. But at this point, calling Benford a draft steal simply does not do him justice. He is legitimately one of the best DBs in the NFL, point blank, regardless of background. Here's one last stat for the road, just in case you still, for whatever reason, think this is some kind of fluke. Since the start of the 2023 NFL season, Ahmad Gardner has the best coverage grade among all NFL cornerbacks at 90.5. And sitting just 1.2 points behind him and for second place with an 89.3 coverage grade is, of course, Christian Benford. That is some damn solid company to say the least, and Benford should only continue improving from here on out. And that should scare opposing quarterbacks, receivers, and offensive coordinators, because that means improving on first-team All-Pro level of play.